Are you tired, worn out, burned out? Come to me. Get away with me and you'll recover your life. I'll show you how to take a real rest. Walk with me and work with me. Watch how I do it. Learn the unforced rhythms of grace. I won't lay anything heavy or ill-fitting on you. Keep company with me and you'll learn to live freely and lightly. I don't think I know anyone who doesn't want to hear exactly those words, that invitation, that promise, no matter where you're at, where your spiritual status is, Christian or completely skeptical. Maybe you were dragged here by a spouse or you showed up because you are tired and you're feeling a little desperate. We all would love for someone to say this directly to us. The average American sees about 5,000 ads every day, and this is basically the thesis of every single one. Buy this product or these services, and your life will finally be restful and meaningful and manageable. No matter your stage of life, student, single, the parent of 5 under 5, the bottom rung of the company, or the top, we're all tired in different ways. We want to live lives of vibrant energy, of engagement and attentiveness, of adventure. And yet so many of us, if not all of us, find ourselves spinning our wheels, pushing through, just showing up, just getting by. Aflac is a weird brand. It partners Deion Sanders with a duck, but they also sponsor a lot of great things like the 2 top professors at my seminary. Every year, for the last 15 years, they've released a study on the workplace culture and environments around America. 2025's headline went like this: Burnout among Americans in the workplace has escalated to a 7-year high. They found that nearly 3 in 4, that's 72% of U.S. employees, feel consistently stressed at work. Gen Z is now the most burned out generation. They're just getting started, with 74% experiencing at least moderate burnout, 66% for millennials. Fewer and fewer employees are confident that their employers care about their mental health, and they point to things like heavy workloads and an undercurrent of financial fragility. Of course, it's also the stress of AI's impact, the chaos of rage bait on social media, the political polarization that's causing rampant interpersonal conflicts, especially in our families, and the uncertainty of the future as our media stories abruptly shift from one incident or scandal or war to another. As inflation ever expands, the lifestyle we all dreamed of and hoped for consistently seems to float just out of our reach. We're exhausted from keeping up with work, with friends, with trends, with the news, with our passions, with each other. We're overworked and we're worked up. That invitation and promise, if you didn't recognize it, is from Jesus in the Message version of it. It's a bold claim, a big promise, and if you're new to Jesus, it might be exactly something like that got you hooked. But all of us, many of us, especially those of us who've been following Jesus for a long time, we still hear those words with longing. And we often respond with the question like, but when? When are we going to finally feel what you're promising us? We try to respond to his invitation. We try to believe. We try to worship. We still, though, feel that inner turmoil. We still feel that physical strain. We still feel the lack of motivation. We still feel restless. Maybe we underestimate how practical Jesus was really trying to be. March Madness just got started this past weekend. We had 68 teams enter the weekend with the grandest hopes and dreams out there, and 67 of them are going to exit this month feeling like complete failures, crushed. And of course, the number 1 team, the most successful team in all the NCAA tournament is the Kentucky Wildcats. The most wins in history, most for men's tournament, of course. But unfortunately, they're only the second most to have fully completed the tournament with a championship, with 8 championships. Still pretty impressive. But the reason they're only second is because this one guy, one of the greatest coaches of all time, John Wooden, single-handedly brought UCLA 11 championships. One of the reasons he was so great is because he could find all of the best players around the country, the guys that were the guy on their high school teams, and he could mold them into an unstoppable force. And the way he would do that is by consistently bringing them back to basics, fundamentals, to the most important things they needed to be great at. And the first thing he would do when he got all those people in the room, the new recruits, for their first practice, is he would teach them how to put on their socks without wrinkles so they didn't get blisters. He believed it was crucial that we return consistently to the fundamentals to learn how to be great. That's what this series has been all about, trying to return to the fundamentals and learn how to find those rhythms of grace that Jesus was talking about. For the last 2,000 or so years, Christian sages have imagined all followers of Jesus learning to build a trellis like these. Structures that help vining plants grow to maximize the plant's ability to produce high-quality fruit or flowers. They help a plant resist the relentless pull of gravity so it can maximize its exposure to oxygen and sunlight and protect what they produce. A trellis provides structure for growth to help a plant thrive. And that's what all these foundational practices or rhythms or fundamentals in this series do for us too. They build structure to give us the best shot at growing and maximizing our own exposure to spiritual nourishment. But maybe it's not as obvious as it should be what we're really talking about. Throughout this series, the trellis that you're building, your firm foundation is your schedule. The reality is all this stuff is not going to happen or will haphazardly happen if we don't schedule it. Prayer, generosity, fasting, worship, serving, community, reading the Bible, whatever it is that you want to do, if you don't schedule it, you're going to do it when you get around to it, and yet all of us consistently are complaining about how packed our calendars already are. Jesus' invitation to rest was related to all of these aspects of trellis building, but today we're going to talk about the most literal and direct invitation, the one that impacts our schedule the most: Sabbath. Sabbath is one of those words we don't seem to know what to do with in English, and so we just use the Hebrew word Shabbat, which literally just means stop, cease, resist. This is, at least to start and in part, Jesus' answer to our exhaustion. He prescribes one whole day every single week to stop, to rest, to get away from it all. In two places in the first 5 books of the Old Testament, the Torah, the Old Testament law, there's a famous list we call the 10 Commandments. They're like the core of the Old Testament law, almost like the Bill of Rights. And they speak to the way that we treat God and each other. And while most of the 10 Commandments are pretty basic vanilla morality, there's one that shockingly stands out among the rest. The fourth one, this one, the Sabbath. Every once in a while, a state will get all worked up about putting the 10 Commandments in a school or in a public building. All kinds of debates will ensue. This just happened in Texas not too long ago with one politician going through the list of commandments in his argument, lying, adultery, coveting, and asking, how many of the politicians arguing for this actually follow those? Isn't that more important? And he went on to point out that they were debating this on a Saturday, the Jewish Sabbath, with the plan to vote on it on a Sunday, often considered the Christian Sabbath. Not only is it maybe surprising that it's even in the law of Moses, but in both of its appearances, it also boasts the highest word count of any command. And in those two appearances, it's given 2 different reasons, making that word count even longer. Yet somehow, it's probably the one that gets most overlooked. Also note, it's the only spiritual discipline that's commanded. Not prayer, not giving, not reading your Bible, it's Sabbath. Do you see the beauty of this? God commands you to take a break, a whole day off. Isn't that a God you can worship? Isn't that a God you want to worship? The Exodus version goes like this: remember to observe the Sabbath day by keeping it holy. You have 6 days each week for your ordinary work, but the 7th day is a Sabbath day of rest dedicated to the Lord your God. On that day, no one in your household may do any work. This includes you, your sons and daughters, your male and female servants, your livestock, and any foreigners living among you. For in 6 days the Lord made the heavens, the earth, the sea, and everything in them. But on the 7th day he rested. That is why the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and set it apart as holy. This weekly day is hardwired into the universe's design. And it's not just about need. God doesn't need to rest, but he still does in the story we have about creation, because it's not a reactionary thing. It's a celebratory thing. Pretty much all spiritual advisors will include the words like enjoying or delighting or worshiping as the purpose of the Sabbath. Let me make this very clear. God is very serious about you having fun. But the major theme of this version is that Sabbath is how we keep rhythm. It's how we pace ourselves in our schedules. It emphasizes the beauty and importance of contributing to the world through work in all of its forms, at a job or at home or in a community. But then it says our bodies and all of creation are designed for a break. 2 times in recent history, societies have tried to change the 7-day calendar. Both were explicitly trying to undermine Jesus' spiritual rhythms. After the French Revolution was one of them, and during the Soviet Union, the other. In both cases, their experiment was quickly abandoned as productivity and emotional health plummeted. The workers and companies rebelled because somewhere in their wiring, they knew they needed a 6-to-1 rhythm. Another study found that employee productivity falls sharply after a 50-hour work week and falls off a cliff after 55 hours, so much so that someone who puts in 70 hours produces nothing more with those extra 15 hours. Some recent studies have consistently found that for our health and long-term productivity, we should cap the work week at 38 hours. Overwork is proven to result in depression, suicidal ideation, burnout, and all kinds of health complications. As one commentator noted, if you go against the grain of the universe, you're going to get splinters. One of my favorite pastors once wrote, I've had people laugh off the call to Sabbath with a terrible cliche. Yeah, well, the devil never takes a day off. Last I checked, the devil loses. Plus, it's the devil. Remember the other clarification as well. You getting a break means everyone around you also getting a break. This is written to the most powerful people in the family, community, or company to enforce in very specific detail that everyone you have influence over should also get a break, even if they don't ask for it or expect it. Because households and businesses were basically synonymous at the time, this isn't just a private practice, it's an economic and political mandate. It was a law ingrained in their constitution in the most prominent place. The other version of this command in Deuteronomy makes this even clearer. It repeats the same kind of thing, and then it says this: remember that you were once slaves in Egypt, but the Lord your God brought you out with his strong hand and powerful arm. That is why the Lord your God has commanded you to rest on the Sabbath day. Why Sabbath? Because now you have a better boss than you used to. Ironically, a consistent historical theme is that the oppressed often become the oppressor, the abused becomes the abuser. Not always, but trauma ingrains itself deep into our psyche so that we repeat the patterns of behavior that were performed on us. So we say things like, it was always done this way. It's just the way I was raised. It's just the way that all the side hustlers and startups and great leaders have to do it. The Hebrew people learned bad habits in Egypt, but God says to them, that's not how we're going to do things in my family. He's breaking those cycles of abuse and overwork. Our own cultural myths often perpetuate a kind of slavery too. We celebrate C-suite mavericks, ace athletes, virtuoso performers with stories of no days off and late night side hustles and long office hours. It's all over our social media influencers, our self-help bestsellers, and our conference keynotes, and it creates a gravitational pull that sucks you into being a workplace martyr. We're trained by our companies and our work culture to view busyness as a badge of honor. Subversively, they set our expectations of ourselves and how much we should be working, which is almost never enough. But even more insidiously, it causes us to project those expectations onto others. We look down on employees and coworkers who take all their vacation days and sick days, or sneak out early to catch a game, or ask to work from home for family reasons. We call the next generation, even our own kids, lazy because they don't want their lives to be defined like ours because of an obsession with accomplishment or have our identity wrapped up in a job. With all of our freedom, we sometimes easily instill slavery-type expectations in ourselves and others. Many of you know this story all too well. You work so hard to build something that you never get to enjoy, like a great house, or even a vacation house, or your family and friends. You contribute so much to your community, except your consistent presence. Many commentators call Sabbath a scheduled social justice. Think about how different it would have been to live within the ancient Jewish community, within their neighborhoods, or working within their companies, compared to all the other countries and companies and cultures that demand more, expected more, kept their wheels of industry spinning incessantly, even or especially if you were at the lowest level of society. Shouldn't it feel just as refreshing and different for the people under your leadership and your influence today? Jesus says, just take a day to fully immerse yourself in the good things that are already here and make sure everyone else around you has the opportunity to do so too. Sabbath not only keeps us in rhythm, but also Sabbath resists the oppression of desperation. Do you see why God wanted to ingrain this into law? The 10 Commandments have two sections, how we treat God and how we treat other people, and the Sabbath is right at that transition point. It's a day to focus on how we treat Him and one another. It's a day that's meant to direct our attention to gratitude for the things God has already given us. And it's a day that gives freedom to everyone else around us too. We have to schedule our rest because everything in our world, our culture, our economy, and ourselves wants to keep us working for them. The idea behind the Sabbath is like being gifted 52 Christmas mornings. How awesome would that be? Psalm 127 speaks to God's heart behind the Sabbath invitation. Unless the Lord builds a house, the work of the builders is wasted. Unless the Lord protects a city, guarding it with sentries will do no good. It is useless for you to work so hard from early morning until late at night, anxiously working for food to eat, for God gives rest to His loved ones. Sabbath is a gift that teaches us to trust that God knows what He's doing, that God is taking care of us, that we don't have to live in a universe of scarcity where you have to bite and claw for survival, but a world of abundance where there's more than enough to go around. What you're building will almost certainly fail without God's help. What you're desperate for will run out without God providing it, no matter how hard you work. The Old Testament system ingrained the Sabbath into the law, and of course, that eventually got abused. By Jesus' time, the Sabbath ironically had just become another tool for powerful people to control the less powerful. They even tried to use it against Jesus. But like everything else that Jesus touches, He didn't dismiss it. Instead, He transformed it, He expanded it, He empowered it into something even bigger and better. His response was to clarify the purpose. The Sabbath was made to meet the needs of people, not people to meet the requirements of the Sabbath. So He makes it less about a specific day and more adaptable. He makes it less about rules and more about freedom. He reminds us that Sabbath is a gift. It doesn't have to be on a specific day like Sunday. In fact, for many people who work at churches or serve intensely on Sundays, Sunday can't be a Sabbath. That's one of the beauties of our Thursday night service for some people. It opens up Sunday to be a Sabbath again. I've practiced Sabbath for at least 15 years, and most of that time it's been on a Friday. For Christians, Sabbath is actually now more than a single day. It's a value that permeates not just one day, but our entire week and month and years so that it becomes a part of our being and identity. Sabbath is designed to be integrated into every day, every week, with extended times scheduled throughout the year, with vacations and retreats and long weekends. But the bare minimum and the core anchoring principle is still to find one day every single week. But if that sounds like too much, we also have the freedom to work our way up to it, to experiment. If you can't do one day because you're still afraid that your company's going to collapse without you, or your family has too many conflicting schedules, just try half a day, try a few hours. It's not going to be enough, but it's a good start. The point of the Sabbath is for us to practice rest so much and so well that we become restful people, at ease in our own skin, patient and confident in our future, anxiety reducing within our office and our homes. I think we instinctively know we need something like the Sabbath, but in practice, we miss it because we don't schedule it. We live our lives trying to convince ourselves it's just a busy season, when the next one is inevitably going to be just as bad or worse. We search for a new job with more money, less hours, and better perks, but the grass is rarely greener because we are the grass. And what's restless is not our circumstances, but our souls. We idealize and dream about vacations, long and short, or vacation homes, but then it comes and goes. And it really wasn't as restful as we thought, and we joke about needing a vacation from our vacation. The truth is, the solution to burnout is not a vacation, a long break, the next season of life, or the change of a job. It's a sustainable schedule. And we start to develop that rhythm that resists the oppression of our internal desperation with Sabbath. The gravitational pull of our hustle world and work-obsessed culture and our fears of scarcity have to be resisted by the trellises that we build. It's the biggest way we take back our time so we can maximize our exposure to God's nourishing presence and the nourishing presence of those we love the most and who love us the most too. One of those adjacent words to Sabbath is sabbatical. Certain jobs have this perk. It's an extended time to take a break from regular work, to learn and try something new, to get a fresh perspective, and most importantly, to rest. One of those jobs that gets a sabbatical, although I think a lot more jobs should get it, is pastor. And the lead team has graciously given me the opportunity to take one for 6 weeks coming up here from the end of April through May. And more of our staff is going to get an opportunity to do this in the coming years. I can't wait for this experience personally. We're going to go to New York City, the West Coast, to Florida. We're going to stay in a cabin, hang out with some family. It's going to be awesome. But as I tell people that this is coming up, I often get two responses. One, are you doing okay? As if this gift is in some way related to a punishment or emotional distress or burnout. Or secondly, you're not leaving us, are you? As if this gift is something I would take advantage of to go looking for another job or greener grass. That's how we tend to treat vacations or days off or personal days or mental health days or just rest in general, right? It's often reactionary. We're tired, so we take off. But the idea behind the Sabbath is that we're proactive. Rest is a consistent gift that's given out of love for the long-term well-being and delight of someone. From God to us, from us to others. I'm tired, just like many of you are. I'm exhausted, and I've dabbled in the word burnout a few times in the last few years. But at the same time, I don't think a sabbatical or a long vacation or a change of scenery is going to necessarily fix anything in me. Because the solution to an exhausting schedule is not a break. It's a sustainable schedule. It's regularly scheduled Sabbath every day, every week, and throughout the year. A schedule with defined margins for delight, for rest, for the most important people in our lives. As we embrace this gift, we not only get a chance to rest, but we become restful. We learn and become a non-anxious presence in an anxious world. As the great Old Testament scholar Walter Brueggemann once wrote, people who keep Sabbath live all 7 days differently. But that's a lot of why. How do we do this? I know for me personally, I can take a day off, not do anything productive or not do anything involving work, not look at email or phone, and still feel no more rejuvenated on the other side because I'm still working or working myself up. Working on my house, feeding my need for more desperation by shopping online or in person, scrolling through and listening to things that get me worked up. I think that's why so many of us who want to respond to Jesus' invitation to take a real rest don't recognize or realize or experience the intended benefits because they're not quitting or trying the things that Sabbath implies. So here are a few suggestions for how to observe, keep, and honor the Sabbath. Resist the restlessness of social media. Social media easily feeds our comparison obsession. It gives us rage bait, and it also feeds our the fear-mongering habits in our world. Resist the restlessness of the news. Learning information about global problems and trying to figure out solutions is important work, but we can't do something about everything. But if we do take a break and find some refreshment, maybe we can do something about some things. Resist the restlessness of shopping and selling. Ads and promotional texts all target our restlessness, trying to overpromise that they can give us real rest. Sabbath is a time to be grateful for what you have, not fixated on what you don't. Resist the restlessness of social vampires. Those people or relationships who steal our energy. We're called to love them, and in some cases, we shouldn't completely shut them off on Sabbath, because sometimes they're our kids, but you can find ways to create boundaries so that you can rest from them from time to time. Resist the restlessness of binging on anything. It's great and refreshing to enjoy entertainment, good drinks, great food, but having too much almost never sets us up for a real rest. Resist the restlessness of your workplace. The emails, the callbacks, the texts, they can wait a day. Resist the restlessness of your phone. Delete apps or even turn it off. Get a carrier pigeon for emergency situations. Resist the restlessness of errands and chores. Try to get everything done, including meal prep for Sabbath. On the other hand, here's a lot of what spiritual leaders recommend you try doing on the Sabbath. Practice restfulness by enjoying a nap or sleeping in. As Matt pointed out the other day, our bodies are part of our souls and our whole beings. We need to treat them with respect and care for them. Enjoy a feast. Most Sabbathers start with a great holiday-level meal the night before. Enjoy sex with your spouse. Self-explanatory, but don't demand it or expect it. Enjoy beautiful arts, music, poetry, novels, shows, movies, video games. Enjoy nature. There's something special in our psyche that resets when we surround ourselves with God's designed environment. Enjoy your family. I've said before, it's really hard to manufacture quality time, but what you can manufacture and guarantee is quantity of time. And maybe if you give yourself a chance with a lot of time, you're going to find those core memories showing up that you really want to build. Enjoy life-giving friends. It's almost always recommended that you plan your Sabbath with other people. That mutual accountability and oftentimes their company can fill you like nothing else. That list probably needs to be modified for your specific life and needs. None of these are meant to be rules. They're suggestions to get you started experimenting. And I know. You have all these responsibilities, all these commitments, all these demands, all these things you have to do. To really experience Sabbath, you're going to have to wrestle with quitting something, with saying no to things that are important or good. To really finally put rest on your schedule. One thing I've learned working with very busy, very responsible volunteers here at Discovery, and working with students who have everybody vying for their attention all the time. If we don't design our days with purpose, someone else will take them for their purposes. If we don't set our schedules ourselves, someone else is going to set them for us. If we don't plan our Sabbath, someone else will pull us into their plans. Hockey practices will steal your Sabbaths and your rest. Your boss's insecurities will steal your Sabbath and your rest. Your own desperation to prove yourself will steal your Sabbaths and your rest. Unless you let God help you take back your schedule for his purposes. Are you tired? Worn out? Burned out? Come to me. Get away with me, and you'll recover your life. I'll show you how to take a real rest. Walk with me, work with me, watch how I do it. Learn the unforced rhythms of grace. I won't lay anything heavy or ill-fitting on you. Keep company with me, and you'll learn to live freely and lightly. Let's pray. God, will you please give us the courage and the clarity to know how to enter the rest you so desperately want to give us, because we need it. We're tired and we're exhausted and we're pulled thin. God, we just want that refreshing sense of your presence. So we ask that you help us to understand how we can build this into our calendars and our schedules and make this a consistent thing. But we ask more than that, that you'll show up in the middle of it. That you'll help give us that internal sense of peacefulness, of calm, of rejuvenation that we all long to have. Be with us as we try to take our next steps in finding restful times in our life so we can take our next steps in experiencing the nourishing presence of you speaking into our hearts and our minds. It's in Jesus' name we pray.